So you just downloaded Create, you saw it on a video, thought was really cool, and decided to give it a shot, but now you are in a world with no idea of what to do now. Here are some tips that might help you in your Create journey. Power generation. A common problem with Create is getting that rotational force. It can sometimes be intimidating to figure out the best way to start. First, don't underestimate the power of a hand crank. If you got your first andesite alloy, making a hand crank can be very useful to get your first metal sheets, or maybe chop down some trees early on. Yes, it's not automated, but it will help you go through the first couple items until you have something a bit bigger. And speaking of something bigger, you are bored of using the hand crank, and want to already get something more decent. The question is, water wheel or windmill? The answer is nearly always a windmill. A good water wheel setup will give you 320 stress units per wheel, which is not bad for the very first mill, but it's incredibly inefficient. Try to find a couple sheeps early on. Breed them up to 5 or 6 if you don't want to use more wheat, and simply shear them whenever you can. Before you realize it, you're going to have more than enough wool for all the machines you need. It takes 128 sails to reach the maximum amount of power from a windmill, which is a bit over 8,000, that means you only need 64 pieces of wool. That's nothing. Lack of iron and the need for big drills. Oftentimes you're going to find this problem of not having enough iron. Compared to vanilla, Create has a massive need for iron in many of its blocks. So you might end up being tempted to build a big mining machine, with all the drills in the world, which they will require even more iron. Yes, massive drills are useful and will grant you lots of random materials, but they are also a bait when it comes to gathering iron. Behind me, there is a fairly decent drill. This will mine out an entire chunk, and it requires near to no power to run, which is great. Let's see what happens if we mine this out. As you can see here, after having mined the entire chunk down to bedrock level, we barely got any iron at all. There are ways to improve our odds when using drills, but there are also better solutions. Crimsite is an amazing source of iron, and it will likely spawn in pretty big veins. If you ever find one of those, don't hesitate to mine it entirely, you will get many stacks of iron. Crimsite does require you to have crushing wheels, something to keep in mind before going to look for it. Another great option is Create itself. Yes, there are ways to make massive iron farms that produce a stack of iron blocks a second, but, with little to no setup, you can actually make a decent amount of iron while you're doing other things. This is a very cheap setup that requires a very small windmill. Yes, it's not insane, it's producing few ingots a minute, but the time that took me to clean the house, I got myself this much iron already, and while I'm playing and doing other things, it will keep growing as long as I'm close to it. All we need for it is lava and water to generate the cobblestone. A mill to crush down the cobblestone. And an encased fan to wash up the gravel with some water. It really is that simple. Yes, this is not efficient, but that's fine, it's just meant to be useful for the first days. And I know, compared to the drill from before, this is barely producing iron, but keep in mind, I had to use many stacks of iron and andesite alloys just to make that many drills, while here it's a negligible amount. Choosing the right recipe. Using REI or JEI, it's actually really important, not only to know how to craft things, but also to see the different recipes to produce the same materials. Create has many recipes that changes between doing them manually / using mechanical crafters, and doing them with other machines. If we take a look here, to make andesite alloys, it requires 2 nuggets and 2 andesite blocks to make 1 alloy. Meanwhile with the mixer, 1 of each already gives us the alloy. Pretty much double the amount of alloys we're going to get per andesite block mined. Mixers also can be used to make shapeless recipes. If you ever trying to automate something, always make sure you can do it with a mixer instead of mechanical crafters. Here you can see a list of all the shapeless recipes I have on my game right now. Like these cogwheels that are much needed all the time. QOL tools. One of the main issues with Create if you're new to it, is that it requires to craft 1,000 bits and pieces. Between all the components and machines, it takes a lot of crafting to get basic stuff going. Even if you are an expert with Create, it can get pretty annoying. But Create actually has a solution for that. Introducing the crafting blueprints. You can place this on a wall just like a painting. Then we recreate the crafting recipe we want to put on it. In our case, we want to make cogwheels, because those are used all the time. Well, now that we have it here, all we need to do is right-click it, and it's going to use the materials of our inventory to craft as many as we want. It will take some space if we have many of them around, but it's so much more convenient, especially if you just started and don't know all the recipes by memory. Being efficient. The last piece of advice is more of a personal advice, rather than with the mod itself. Yes, there will always be ways to be more efficient, there will always be better ways to do things. Don't let that discourage you from experimenting, and just messing around. Create does an amazing job showing small guides for most if not all of their blocks and machines. It's very intuitive, and easy to learn. Do mistakes, build silly things, and above all else, have fun. That is the most important thing at the end of the day. Don't overthink, or care about what others might do or say. Have fun, build whatever it is you want to make, and enjoy the mod. Those are all the tips I have for today. Of course, if you want to learn more, make sure to leave a like, and comment what other tips I didn't mention. Maybe if the video gets enough likes I will get another one with even more tips. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.